Betsy Arakawa called a medical concierge service before she died. Gene Hackman's death was already clouded by mystery, missing records, and a timeline that didn't make sense. But now things have gotten even worse. Hackman's former bodyguard was found dead just 24 hours after posting a mysterious video about his last days. What did he say? What shocking truth was he about to reveal? Why is the FBI still keeping secrets about Hackman's case? Is this all just a coincidence, or is someone trying to keep the truth from getting out? Gene Hackman was a beloved Hollywood legend who was 95 years old and living a quiet retirement with his wife, Betsy Arakawa. His death should have been a sad but simple event, but as soon as police went into their Santa Fe home, things got much more disturbing than anyone thought. There were no signs of forced entry, no clear cause of death, and a timeline that didn't make any sense. Even stranger, Hackman's pacemaker recorded his last heartbeat on February 17th. But the official story doesn't make sense. His body wasn't found for 9 days. His wife's body was found in a different part of the house, near a counter with pills all over it, and their dog was locked in a closet and couldn't get out. Why weren't any emergency calls made? Why wasn't anyone checking on them sooner? Also, Hackman's former bodyguard was found dead 24 hours after a video showed possible secrets about his death. The official explanation seemed vague. Authorities said that Hackman and Arakawa had both died under mysterious circumstances. Unsolved mysteries, their estate showed no signs of disturbance, no signs of a break-in, no missing valuables, and nothing to suggest any outside interference. Early theories about carbon monoxide poisoning were quickly thrown out when tests came back negative. So if it wasn't an environmental hazard and there were no obvious signs of distress, what really happened inside that house? To add to the mystery, Hackman's body was found mummified, which suggests he had been gone for several days. This fits with the pacemaker data, which stopped recording activity on February 17. But this brings up a serious question. If Hackman died on February 17, why didn't anyone check on him for over a week? More importantly, what was going on in that house during those 9 days? The authorities said that Arakawa's body was found separately, but they couldn't say for sure whether she died before or after her husband. If she had been alive after Hackman's death, why didn't she call anyone? There were no reports of distress signals, medical emergencies, or any communication from the family. If she was found near a counter covered in pills, does that mean she took something on purpose? Or was there something else going on? And then there's the dog. This is an important detail that has deeply upset many people who have been following the case. The couple had 3 dogs, but only one, Xena, was found stuck in a closet and unable to get out. The dog had not eaten or drunk for days. The other 2 dogs were found unharmed. Another scary question is, why was only one dog locked up? Who put it there, and was it meant to be hidden for a reason? Hackman and his wife had family, friends, and a caretaker, but no one thought to check in during that time. The official answer is that Hackman and Arakawa valued their privacy and lived a quiet life in Santa Fe where neighbors rarely saw them. But even a private couple has routines like phone calls and deliveries, which would mean they were there. 9 days went by without a single welfare check, which is not only strange but also very suspicious. To make things even stranger, toxicology results were delayed without any explanation. Usually when an elderly person dies suddenly, forensic testing is normal but doesn't take an unusually long time. However, in this case, results have not been fully released, and authorities have been tight-lipped about what was found. Were there substances in their system that pointed to foul play? Was something given to them that could have gone unnoticed? Or were the results kept secret for some other reason? And just when everyone thought the mystery couldn't get any stranger, Hackman's former bodyguard was found dead in a suspicious way just 24 hours after posting a video about Hackman's death. This was a man who likely knew a lot about Hackman's life, security, and maybe even the events leading up to his death, but he died right after sharing something public. Details about the video have been hard to find, but people who saw it say it had disturbing details about Hackman's last days, his hidden connections, and maybe even clues about why the FBI got involved. The more you look into this case, the less sense it makes. 2 people are dead, records are missing, toxicology results are late, and a man who might have had answers is suddenly unable to speak. So, the biggest question is, what did Gene Hackman's former bodyguard know? Was his sudden death meant to silence him before the truth got out? Gene Hackman's death has taken a shocking new turn, and what was once thought to be an unfortunate tragedy is now looking like something much more sinister. There are rumors, which haven't been confirmed but are spreading quickly, that Hackman's former bodyguard has also died mysteriously. Some say he was about to say something big, while others think his sudden death wasn't an accident. The real question is, what did he know and why wasn't he allowed to say it? Much more shocking is that a doctor in Santa Fe has publicly said that he received a phone call from Hackman's wife Betsy Arakawa on February 12, one full day after her official death. That's right, Dr. Joshua Child, who runs Cloudberry Health, says that he personally spoke with Arakawa on February 12 when she called to cancel an appointment and said that her husband wasn't feeling well. This one revelation changes everything if Arakawa really did talk to Dr. Child on February 12th, since she was still alive after her official date of death on February 11. The timeline we were given is either completely wrong or was changed on purpose. So what does this mean? There are only a few options and none of them are comforting. One theory is that the official timeline is just wrong. Maybe the deaths were accidentally misreported and Arakawa really did die later than we were told, but if that's the case, why wouldn't the authorities have fixed it if it was just a mistake? The second, more disturbing possibility is that someone else was using Arakawa's phone while she was already unconscious. If that's the case, who made the call and why might someone have wanted to make it look like she was still alive? If so, what were they trying to hide? Things get even scarier if Arakawa was still alive for days after Hackman died and trapped in the house, unable to call for help. Could it be that she was alone and slowly losing her strength with no one to talk to? If this is true, this isn't just a case of an unexplained death, it's something much scarier. And we haven't even talked about the dog. When Hackman and Arakawa's bodies were found, one of their dogs, Zena, was locked in a closet and had not been fed or watered for days. A necropsy report confirmed that the animal had been confined for so long that it actually died of dehydration. But here's the scary part. The timeline suggests that the dog must have been locked in that closet while Hackman and Arakawa were still alive. Who put the dog there? And why would Hackman and Arakawa lock their own pet away if they were having a hard time? Was someone else in the house with them who locked the dog up on purpose before leaving? Next, we'll talk about Hackman's estate. Hackman's fortune was estimated to be between $62 million and $80 million, which is a huge inheritance with a huge legal problem. His will left everything to Arakawa, but what if Arakawa Hackman's children, who weren't named in his will, now have a possible claim to the estate? But here's where things get suspicious. If someone wanted to change the timeline for financial reasons, they would have a direct incentive to make sure that Hackman's death was listed first. In other words, was the timeline changed to change who inherits Hackman's wealth? And here's something even scarier. Hackman had been deceived. Hackman had advanced Alzheimer's in his last years, and his closest friends say that he was in a very unstable mental state. He relied on Arakawa to make all of his decisions, and she was in charge of his estate and finances. This brings up another troubling question. Was Hackman fully aware of what was going on around him? If he was being influenced, misled, or even taken advantage of, could that explain why his estate and last days seem so confusing? The more you look into this case, the more you find. The official story starts to fall apart more and more. A bodyguard who might have known what happened is suddenly missing. A phone call from beyond the grave challenges the official timeline. A locked-up dog suggests that someone else was in the house. A multi-million-dollar estate in legal chaos, and a man with Alzheimer's who may not have been in charge of his own affairs. The question remains, who benefited the most from Hackman's death? And why are there still so many unanswered questions? The Epstein connection and Gene Hackman's death could have been written off as a strange but natural event if it weren't for one big coincidence that has conspiracy theorists going crazy. It happened just as the long-awaited final batch of the Jeffrey Epstein files was about to be released. For years, people have been guessing who would be named in these documents, a list of famous people allegedly connected to Epstein's secret and very controversial network. The release of these files has already caused a lot of trouble, revealing shocking names and troubling connections in political and entertainment circles, but many people think that not everyone on the list will ever be made public. That's where Hackman's name comes up. Some theorists say that Hackman's death was not a coincidence. They say that he either knew something that made him a liability or was directly named in documents that would have brought unwanted attention to him. Hackman had spent decades with Hollywood elites and might have known something. There is a popular theory that Hackman was going to say something important in his later years, but he was stopped before he could. This theory is based on the fact that his personal files were kept secret, his hard drives went missing, and the FBI got involved in the case in a way that wasn't normal. Was Hackman in possession of information that linked him or someone he knew to Epstein's network? If so, was there a reason his death happened at just the right time to stop any Hackman's estate problems? The confusion over when he died and the missing digital records all make the circumstances seem suspicious. They make people wonder if Hackman was being watched before he died. Adding fuel to the fire is Randy Quaid, a longtime Hollywood outcast who has made big claims about a secret system controlling the industry. Quaid says Hackman was murdered and his death was staged, and this isn't the first time Quaid has made these kinds of claims over the years. For years, he has talked about a mysterious group he calls the Hollywood Star Whackers, which he says goes after celebrities who have become a liability. Quaid has compared Hackman's death to those of Heath Ledger, Brittany Murphy, and other celebrities whose deaths have been unable to be explained. Both actors died in strange ways, with medical reports that left many questions unanswered. Ledger, who was known for his intense performances, died of an accidental overdose, but many people still don't believe. People think that outside forces were involved. For example, Brittany Murphy's sudden and mysterious death, followed by the death of her husband just months later, has been seen as suspicious for a long time. Quaid has said that Hackman was just the latest star who knew too much, or was seen as a possible whistleblower. But the real question is if Hackman was really a target who stood to gain from his death. Some people think it wasn't just about the Epstein files. Hackman had close ties to Hollywood's most powerful people for decades, even after he stopped acting. It's possible that he knew more about some of the biggest scandals in entertainment history than he let on. If he did, could his death have been a way to keep that information from getting out? Others think that the Epstein connection was just a distraction, an easy way to hide a darker, more sinister plan. Hackman's private financial dealings have also raised eyebrows. There were rumors that the FBI was interested in some of his offshore assets. It's possible that his death had less to do with Epstein and more to do with secret deals involving hidden wealth or high-profile people trying to stay safe. One thing that's clear is that the more we learn about this case, the less it makes sense. The scariest thought is that this might not have been just about Hackman, but part of a larger pattern. There are more logical explanations, but do they hold up? There are theories about Hackman's death that involve dark plots, hidden agendas, and high-profile cover-ups. Others think the truth may be much less sinister, but still unsettling. They say that his death, while mysterious, was just a tragic accident caused by old age, medical problems, and bad luck. But even if we accept a more reasonable explanation, the details still don't quite fit. The most basic theory is that Hackman, who was 95 years old and had Alzheimer's, died. His wife may have overdosed or not been able to get help in time because she was so shocked and sad. Alzheimer's is a progressive neurodegenerative disease that can cause severe confusion and disorientation, as well as a higher risk of sudden medical emergencies. At Hackman's age, he was already in a fragile state, and it's possible that he had a sudden medical event like a stroke or cardiac arrest while he was alone at home, but this theory raises more questions than it answers. If Hackman died first, why didn't Arakawa call for help? Was she too upset to do anything? Did she get lost? If so, how does that explain the pills that were found near her body? Some people think that Arakawa, who was devastated by the death of her husband, may have taken an overdose on purpose, a tragic case of a longtime partner who couldn't live without their partner. However, there are several problems with this theory. First, the official cause of death for Arakawa hasn't been released, and her toxicology results haven't been released. Second, if she was upset and planning to do something like this, why wasn't there a note or message of some kind left behind? In most cases of intentional overdoses, loved ones leave behind a message, a goodbye, or some other kind of closure. There was nothing. And then there's the dog. The fact that their dog Xena was found locked in a closet and had not eaten or drunk for days is probably the most unsettling part of the official story. This detail alone suggests a level of planning that doesn't fit with the tragic accident theory. If Hackman and Arakawa and Hackman both died suddenly, so who locked the dog in the closet? If Arakawa was still alive and aware after Hackman's death, why didn't she let the dog out? If this was really just a case of natural causes, why was one dog confined while the other two were free to roam? This one detail points to a deliberate action. Someone put the dog in the closet and locked the door. The question is, who did it and why? There's also the environmental hazard theory, which says that the couple may have been exposed to environmental hazard, mold spores, or another unseen environmental hazard may have slowly killed them over a few days. While carbon monoxide poisoning was quickly ruled out, other possible toxins have not been fully investigated. For example, mold poisoning can cause severe neurological effects, confusion, and even death over time. If Hackman and Arakawa's home had high levels of toxic mold, it's possible that they were both slowly killed until they were too sick to stay alive. If this were the case, why were there no immediate signs of environmental contamination found in their home? Also, why didn't investigators talk about any possible dangers in their reports? To add to the mystery, the fact that the FBI was involved in Hackman's case suggests that it was never just a simple death investigation. Police don't get involved in normal deaths unless there is something more to the story. But here's the biggest question of all. If Hackman and Arakawa's deaths were murders, why is the FBI keeping secrets? Even if we ignore the craziest conspiracy theories, the facts still don't add up. Hackman's death is still one of the most mysterious in Hollywood history, and until the full truth comes out, the rumors will only get stronger. Thanks for watching.